Hi everyone, welcome back. I hope you enjoyed the break. We onto our second session today for the Changing Risk Day, which is a combination of our year-long campaign for affecting real change for risk managers, particularly in terms of finding new ways to do risk and new ways to think about risk. So our next session is courtesy of Frashad, who should be on the line. Are you there?
Yes, I am. Hello.
Hi. So you're going to be talking about using data and technology to make better risk decisions. Is that correct?
Yes, well, more or less.
Excellent. So how the session is going to run is Frashad's going to give us a sort of 15-minute pitch on what he thinks, and you'll have the opportunity to ask questions. So there's a Q&A box within Zoom, so you can use that to write some questions, and we'll do a Q&A session at the end. So I'm going to hand over to Frashad now, who will put up his slides and begin.
Okay. There we go. You should be able to see my screen right about now.
We're just getting there now. There we go. Cool. Can we still see them? Yeah, we can see your slides, so feel free to begin.
All right, thank you very much, Lauren. And very good morning from my end of the world. It's 10 a.m. here in Kuala Lumpur. And thank you so much for joining me today, where I hope to share some of my thoughts on data and technology in managing risks for better risk management decisions. A bit of a background on me before we begin. My name is Frashad, by the way. I work for Prolintas, which is a company that builds and operates highways within Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. And my role is essentially to lead the whole spectrum of enterprise risk management within the company, right? So that includes the operational risks and the project risks, as well as the strategic risks of the company. So, okay, I think that's quite enough about me. So let me take you through the slides here. Okay, there we go. And I've got a few sections here. I know it's 8 sections in total, but I hope to breeze through this in the next 15 minutes or so. And we'll begin by having a quick introduction on the topic. Then we'll focus on what data is all about. And then we'll talk about everybody's buzzword, really, which is Industrial 4.0. Then I hope to share some examples of how, quite briefly actually, on how Prolintas actually uses data and technology for the risk management. And then we'll discuss some of the challenges that surround using data and technology, as well as the risks that are involved, and closing up with what's next for us as risk managers, and I'll summarize the whole presentation at the end. Okay, so introduction. Right, so I think we've been inundated with buzzwords like data and technology and IR 4.0 and all that good stuff for the past 2 or 3 years, really. And I think the reason behind that is there's a significant movement towards adopting advanced technologies, right? And I'm not just talking about the corporate world, I'm talking about, you know, everyone from their 5-year-old child to their 70-year-old grandpa is really looking for the latest and greatest in, you know, gadgets, electronics, technology, the best Tesla car, if you will, right? So everybody's gearing towards bigger and better stuff, right? And I believe why this is the reason for the corporate world is moving towards that trajectory is data and tech go hand in hand in giving organizations a competitive advantage. And where risk management comes into the picture is that with more data and technology, you'll be in a better position to make better risk decisions, right? So we, as the I would call this the risk management fraternity, we can't be, stuck with using yesterday's, data tools and methods for today's problems. We need to manage risks today for, with using tomorrow's solution, if you will. Okay, so let's talk about data now. So I think when it comes to data, we as risk managers are no strangers to data, right? Insurance guys have been using actuarial data for the past 50 odd years or so for risk management purposes. And as risk managers, I'm sure a few of us have actually used quantitative risk analysis that use copious amounts of data, right? With our Monte Carlo simulations, our sensitivity analysis and fault tree analysis. So all that good stuff. I mean, we've been using lots and lots of data, as well as the technology that comes with it in terms of making sense of that data. That's something that we've been quite a bit used to. So what's relatively new? It's really the application of data, I would say, and the technological evolution has brought out increased accuracy, visibility, and efficiency in terms of information pertaining to risk management, right? So I would have to say the one caveat that while we're gearing or really heading towards really embedding data and technology within risk management activities that we have in the organization, we need to realize that it's only a means to an end, right? So data and tech is a means to an end and not an end in itself, because it really supports the organization's risk culture. And for me, that's the real big thing, apart from achieving our risk management decisions. To get there, we need to embed a proper risk culture in the organization. All right. Okay. Data once again. So this pictogram, if you will, I really like this pictogram because it really sums up how we as risk managers could actually use data, right? So I picked this up from a paper that was published in 2015 by Gartner, the Research Institute. So what they have here is essentially categorically segmented data to descriptive, diagnostic, predictive, and prescriptive data. And while I personally may not use descriptive so much, I think diagnostic data is where risk management really begins, right? When we look at risks, primarily we look at, yes, we need to know what's going to happen, but we always have a view of the past, if you will, to see that, okay, if something has happened before, what can we do to, diagnose the issue, why it happened, and from there we can see with the foresight of having how and what will happen, and when an actual risk does happen, right, we go into the prescriptive data in terms of what we should do. So I think this pictogram is quite helpful in helping us understand how we can actually categorize the data that we need to use for risk management. And for me, it is quite beneficial, I would say, in terms of helping me understand what's the particular information that I require to make my risk management actions actually work, right? And speaking of action, let's talk about everybody's favorite buzzword. I think industrial Industrial Revolution 4.0 or IR 4.0 is being well spoken at many different levels at many different types of industries and functions. So you won't hear this just within risk management, of course, but within commercial aspects of the business, finance, as well as even logistics, customer service. Everybody is using this buzzword. And for us risk managers, I think we have to begin with using data. Now, I understand that the bulk of tech and data is used in commercial or operational space of the company, but in terms of risk management, where we start with data is pretty much at our business unit levels, where we try to extract all sorts of data, right? But how do we know what sort of data we need? I'll come back to that in a bit. But once we have the right data that we're looking for, so say for example, we want to look at data on accidents, all right, that occur on highways. Yes, just because I'm a highwayman, I'm going to use that example. So accidents on highways. So from the organization's perspective, the risk is, it's a safety risk, right? So we want to reduce the risk of accidents happening on our highways. So we need to get the data on accidents that happen on our highways. And this data can be sliced and diced with so many levels, right? And that's where we get our insights from this data. Now, how do we get insights? So we can see, we can gather data from, say, for example, traffic data, what sort of cars come in, what sort of driver demographics that are actually involved in accidents or not involved in accidents. We can see the time of day, temperature, weather, so all sorts of factors, if you will, that can provide us insights in terms of trying to tell the story of what risk and opportunities reside within that earlier clump of data that we collected. Now, within insights, of course, we need to derive actions that will require us to put in place, right? So what I mean by this is the risk controls as well as the risk mitigation actions that we can have that is derived from this insight. And here we have essentially the actions that risk management actually help build, right? And for most, well, I would say perception of a lot of higher management out there is that sometimes risk management can be very theoretical, because essentially we're saying, well, to boil it down in a nutshell, we are like, what's the word that I'm looking for? An astrologist, if you will. We're trying to predict the future, essentially. That's what I'm trying to say. So, and we're trying to say that to prevent certain risks from happening, we need to take certain actions, and it sometimes doesn't get through to not only the management of the company, but also certain level throughout all the levels of the organization, really. And having actions that are based on risk insights and data is a very good, I would say, justification for why risk management is so important for an organization, right? So let's jump on the bandwagon here and let's talk about, again, a deeper dive on industrial risk, Industrial Revolution 4.0, IR 4.0, and the associated technologies, right? So we've got plenty more different types of technologies that I haven't highlighted here, but I'm only taking the 4 that I would say are the main drivers of risk management actions, if you will. So we've got big data, we've got artificial intelligence, that's AI, IoT, the Internet of Things, right? As well as digital image processing. Now there, of course, like I mentioned earlier on, there are several other different data types or technologies that are associated with IR 4.0. For example, machine learning and autonomous robotic process automation and all that good stuff. But I'm not going to touch on those. So I'm going to just briefly touch on these 4 items, really. And not to forget, IR 4.0 actually supports the risk culture in the organization. So I'm just going to mention that for a bit here, that while technology is out there, we must understand that it's a tool that enables risk management, and risk management can only be enabled further by the people, right? And we need to get buy-in from the people to make sure that risk management culture is permeated throughout the organization. Now, okay, let's look at technologies in a glance here. So I'll talk about big data analytics again, Internet of Things, where everything's interconnected really, artificial intelligence, as well as digital image processing. Okay, so big data analytics. Now, again, this is one of the major buzzwords that's running around, right? Everybody's talking about big data, but essentially for us risk managers, I think we're very used to big data, especially those who are involved in quantitative risk analysis. For example, doing Monte Carlo analysis, you've got to use copious amounts of big data, right? And in this sense, big data analytics here, it provides better events analysis. And what I mean by this is that we can look at a whole lot more wider scope of data from the past to make better decisions in the future, right? So it goes hand in hand with looking at trends analysis and detection of, certain key risk indicators. So for example, let me use finance this time. Fraudulent activities, right? So there are certain trends, certain actions that you can detect from all the big data transactions that you can accumulate, right? And you can use this to detect fraud earlier on, sometimes before it actually happens, or for most cases, I think it's midway, right? And it will improve predictive modeling, of course, because you've got copious amounts of data and you can slice and dice it many ways to get what you want. But the ideal situation here is you need to know exactly what you want to get the most out of your data. I think that's really important, right? So, and one of the other key benefits of big data analytics is it actually provides a faster and more accurate risk response database. So you've got a whole huge amount of this data that you can use to manage your risks more efficiently and accurately, okay? So that's essentially what big data is all about and how we can actually think about using it in risk management. Okay, moving on to the Internet of Things. Now, the Internet of Things, it's all about sensors and connectivity. And we can use IoT essentially to detect key risk indicators. So for example, and I'm jumping the gun here a bit, but ProLintas, we use sensors and IoT to actually look at slope maintenance. We use it for identifying accidents and accident management. So we can use IoT for several I would say risk management applications, and it actually provides real-time analysis and reporting for the management as well, right? We can take, I mean, in my organization, it's an operational tool, but we actually use that data in terms of we have access to the real-time analysis and reporting to figure out what are the further risk management actions that we need to take. Okay. Automation of processing. So this is AI, artificial intelligence, right? I know if you're fans of The Matrix or Terminator, AI or artificial intelligence may not be a good thing, but in actual fact, for risk management, it automates a lot of the processes, right? The nitty-gritty process. So conceptually, we at ProLintas are thinking of automating our risk assessment process, whereby we are putting in like a chatbot, right? And this chatbot is an AI-based, it's very rudimentary AI, by the way. So it will answer FAQs for people who have questions on risk items. So this will be rolled out primarily to the business units internally to the organization. So that's one of the ways that we're thinking of automating the process of risk management. But to go beyond that, right, the applications of AI, you can have, the machines and the computers actually learning and predicting trends like accidents and whatnot, and it actually provides a real-time response to emergency situations, for example, right? If the system is smart enough. But I have to say, I haven't seen a system that has reached to this potential at this point in time. We at ProLintas are looking into concepts that surround artificial intelligence, but we're still working on that at this point in time. Okay, I do realize I'm running a bit over time, but I'm going to wrap this up real quickly. If you don't mind. I'm good, Lauren?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay. Okay, so real quickly, digital image processing. So when I speak about digital image processing, it's not taking your digital camera and snapping a picture. No, it goes beyond that, and I'll show you that in a bit. How we can actually use digital image processing for real-time risk assessment. We're talking about for ProLinters again. We're talking about highway slope conditions, the road conditions. We can look at we can use it for risk analysis, as well as predicting accidents or possible disasters that might come up, right? And primarily, it's not the regular images that you think about, but it's more of infrared mechanisms, X-rays, night vision, that sort of thing, right? So let me just share with you very briefly on certain concepts and certain applications that we at ProLinters actually have. So in terms of digital image processing, we can track foreign objects and intrusion on the highway. So foreign objects on a highway is a big no-no. So for example, sometimes you've got those huge lorries that traverse the highways and they have burst tires, for example, the tires burst out, and you've got pieces of rubber on the road, and sometimes our patrol person is like on the other end of the highway, but we can immediately detect this digital image processing by having infrared cameras, all right? And the AI driver behind those infrared cameras. So what it does is it actually detects anomalies on the highways and actually alerts not only the control center, but as well as the person on the ground, the highway patrol, to actually look into it. Right. So that's one application. Bridge and slope maintenance. I think I mentioned this quite a bit. I don't have an actual picture here right now to show you, but essentially it will detect, again, using sensors on the bridges and the slopes, as well as drones that are equipped with heat sensing capabilities, right? IR cameras, essentially. So for example, a slope here in the tropical climate of Kuala Lumpur, it rains a lot. So there might be water retention under the slope soil. So drones can actually detect this far more faster and efficient, as well as the sensors on the bridges can detect all these anomalies far more efficiently and actually alert our maintenance guys or the operational guys on the ground to actually fix this, right? And then we've got accident prediction and prevention. We've trying to implement this right now at this moment in time to have sensors across certain portions of the highways, especially key accident areas. And what we're aiming to do is collect the data that surrounds accidents or issues that happen around this area, and we are trying to, with our phase 2, really have a prevention mechanism that you can put in place. So for example, if there's a high possibility, when it rains, for example, and then there's a high possibility of certain traffic at a certain time, then we can put out traffic information management systems out, have the traffic patrol guys out there to assist traffic to minimize the possibility of accidents happening, right? And finally, we've got response team action. Now, this is a pure concept where we have drones really that go out and respond immediately to certain incidents. So for example, if a patrol guy is at one end of the highway and the accident happens at the other end, a really bad accident, for example, then we can have drones that fly out there and give an assistance to the person who's actually injured or caught in the accident. So we're thinking of a concept more like the Amazon drones, where you can actually drop off medical supplies, that sort of stuff. But it's still a concept that's trying to be implemented. So all these ideas, if you will, stem from the process of having discussions on risk management and and having the progression of that discussion goes to, okay, what sort of data we have to actually help us mitigate certain situations or certain risks that we have on our highways, right? So this is just food for thought for you guys to think about how you can actually use, data in risk management actions, if you will. Okay, so I'm going to go into challenges. So data, and we inundate it with data all the time, every time, right? So the critical thing is sometimes data is garbage in, garbage out, right? So we need to make sure that the data we have is clean, and how we do that is quite, I would say, a big challenge, because we need to understand the types of data that are being captured. Sometimes you get false negatives, not false positives, not no kinds of stuff. So one thing that we need to keep in mind is information is a difference that makes a difference, as quoted by Gregory Bateson. He's a so some will call him a digital philosopher, but yeah, he's a futurist that thinks about data all the time. Well, did think about data all the time, and I think it's key to remember that we need to go through or sift through data properly and make sure that it's something viable for us risk managers to use. And one other key challenges is knowing what you want, right? We need to know what sort of end game we want with the data, and that will help us essentially sift through the garbage, or sift through the whole huge pile of data that we are faced with every day, right? And I think one of the key ways we can do this is to upskill ourselves as risk managers, and if possible, get a data scientist on the risk management team. I think a data scientist these days can be a very, very useful skill set to have, not only in risk management, but in any functional team to have, right? Okay, so risks surrounding data and technology. Now, I'm not going to go through this in very much detail, but I just highlighted here. This is something I plucked out from Deloitte's paper in managing risk in digital information transformation. Right, we've got the usual suspects here. We've got cyber risks, third-party risks, privacy, forensics, but we also need to be concerned about, data leakage. We've got so much, and we've got access to so much amount of data. If you don't keep it properly, proprietary data can be leaked out, and can be used against us in a competitive situation. So again, I am not going to go through, all 10 of these, but I'm sure we'll share the slides with you very soon for you guys to take a look, right? And there's links to the paper as well. Okay, so yeah, what's next for us risk managers? So in a sense that I think all the automation really that comes with big data, analytics, AI, and all that will help us focus on more strategic, high-value decisions for the organization. Right? It will push us towards being more part of the higher management, if you will, to exercise a more strategic direction for the organization. Right? It also provides us a platform with dynamic and a more instantaneous risk assessment process through automation as well, and AI. And it will create a more adaptive risk control monitoring process, right, with all the sensors that you have and all the tech that you can get with these days anyway. So to summarize, getting data or information is a tough starting point. I think that's really one of the key things that we need to understand. Data, insights, and technologies will definitely lead to better analysis and decision making. It will give you not only faster but better quality information for everyone to make a risk management decision. And we also need to be mindful that risk culture is essentially the key that binds everything together into a working machine. And it's not really just data that we need to be concerned about. Risk culture is also a part of that. And finally, technological risk exposure is definitely going to be an element that is inherent to data and its usage in risk management. All right, so that's all I have for today. I think.
Fabulous. Thank you, Frashad. That was brilliant. I'm going to leave the questions down the bottom, the Q&As down the bottom open for the audience, but I just have one to request while you're here. A lot of our problem that we seem to have is, or the risk managers identify, is how to get the data from other departments. Do you have any tips?
Right. Say that again. What was your last statement? Sorry.
Any tips on how people
any
can
tips?
get the data?
All right. So you know what? There was a conference in Singapore last month that I attended, and one of the things that popped up was that was really, that really stayed with me was that CRO, being a CRO, the R really stands for relationship, right? You need to, you really need to establish relationship with the whole business unit, throughout the whole organization. So I don't have actual, technical tips to share with you, but what I can say is that we need to establish relationships with everyone in the company. When I say relationships, of course, I'm talking about professional relationships, and managing our stakeholders and having them to understand that we're there to help them out, and we're trying to get these, data from them. Is essentially, it will feed back to them anyway, right? The benefits will channel and flow back to them. So I think one of the key messages that you can give to engaging with your other functions within the company is that you can tell them, hey, I need your data, but I need your data that will have me come up with risk management analysis and assessment that will eventually help you out to give you a third party view really of where you stand and what you probably need to do. And as risk managers, again, we're sometimes focused too much on risk. We can actually look at the other side of the same coin, which is opportunity, right? And with all the data that they have, we can actually look at risk and opportunity. And that's probably a message that you can convey to them. Good question, Lauren.
One other one is, before I let you go,
Sure.
What happens when there's too much data? Because there tends to be sometimes you'll ask people for it and they'll just give you absolutely everything. How and where how do you stop that or get around it?
Well, I don't think you want to stop that. I would say, let them give as much data as they want to give, right? I mean, they might just dump the whole entire mountain of data that they have, but essentially we need to be clear on what we want. There's two parts to this answer. So number one would be, we need to know what we want or what we need from that data that we are gathering, right? And sometimes it can be overwhelming, facing a mountain of data. And this is where, again, skill sets and competencies. We need someone that can help us out. Like I mentioned earlier in the presentation, we need a data scientist. A data scientist can actually help us sift through the copious amounts of data and make sense of that data that we have. And in fact, we might find a gem or two that we might not have been looking for in the first place, but it just pops out from that data. I can't think of an example right now to contextualize what I'm saying, but essentially where I'm coming from is that I don't think we want to stop them from giving us a whole lot of data, but for us to make sense of it, we need to be clear with what we want, and hopefully we can actually have someone in our team or ourselves really to have the opportunity to learn a new skill set or have a new skill set within our team that will focus and concentrate on data. So yeah, I hope that answers the question.
It does. Thank you so much. We've got a question coming from the audience. Let me check that. Someone's just asked when the presentations will be made available. We will be making all of this available in the next sort of week or so. We just have to have a bit of a chance to edit it, but yeah, we should be making it available very soon. Frashad, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it. And I'm sure if anyone has any questions or wants to get in contact with you, they can reach out to you on LinkedIn or via your company websites. But thank you very much.
Sure. Thank you very much, Lauren, for having me. And thank you, everyone, for joining in.
No worries. Our next session starts at 2 p.m, which is Sydney time, and 11 a.m. Singapore time. And we have Justin Greenstein, who'll be talking about culture risk or risk culture. So please come back and join us then. Thanks.
Fantastic. Thank you.